Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and guess what? We're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and this is how to play Dungeons & Dragons 5e. And this is going to be covering the Barbarian. We're covering the Primal Path, for those of you who were unsure exactly what I was going to be doing. Now, when I say we're covering the Primal Path today, I'm going to be fairly brief. I'm not going into a lot of detail, so if you have specific questions, ask those questions, that's fine. If I'm not able to give you an absolute concrete response right now, it's probably because I haven't got pages and pages of notes. I've only got enough to contend with a basic sort of summary. My intention is to do or break up each of the components of the Primal Path into separate videos at some point. I don't know when, but that's my intention. So if you could start by turning to page 48, right, so it's like 48 to 50 of the Player's Handbook, you'll find details on the Barbarian's Primal Path. And I'm going to go through it just very briefly. So at 3rd level, you gain a path that shapes the nature of your rage. Choose the path of the Berserker or the path of the Totem Warrior, both detailed at the end of the class description. Your choices grant you features at 3rd level, as we already said, and again at 6th, 10th and 14th level. So it is essentially the Barbarian archetype. That's really all it is. It's not complicated in any way whatsoever. That's what it is. So the two options you have. Let's start with the path of the Berserker. The thing with the Barbarian, the Frenzied Berserker or the Berserker has always been notorious, incredibly notorious in terms of the game of Dungeons & Dragons. And the reason being that Frenzied Berserker Barbarians have been known to take out their entire party and cause untold stress and a lot of upset people. My feeling is that this particular Berserker for the Barbarian isn't the same one we were used to. So I think that is an improvement. You don't really want a class that just is going to mow through your own party just because they happen to be closer. So there's some bonuses there. So let's start off with the Berserker. So you get at 3rd level, you get Frenzy. So you can use a bonus action to get a single melee weapon attack while you're raging. Quite a useful feature. At level 6, you get Mindless Rage. So while raging, you can't be charmed or frightened. Yet another fairly useful feature. Being charmed and being frightened, I don't really think that being frightened is going to be so much of a big deal. If you're dealing with something like dragons tend to scare NPCs and players and their characters. So, being able to resist that is good. The other thing is being charmed. One of the biggest downfalls for the Barbarian is their ability to make a saving throw to contest something like mind controlling spells. And so being able to resist something like charm, not being able to be charmed while you're raging, is actually a very good feature to have. Next, at level 10, you get Intimidating Presence, which is sort of a little bit out of the blue. Everything else has been very much combat orientated, but we get this one, and as an as an action, you can frighten somebody else. Fine, it makes sense, a Berserker frightening somebody else, which means really, do you need to worry about pumping up your Intimidate skill? If you've got this feature, why would you need to worry about that? If you can just do it as an action and it's pretty much automatic, then I wouldn't really worry too much about it. There is actually a check required, so they still have to make a wisdom saving throw, and it's contested against 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. And of course, the chances are, unless you've been very careful in terms of your build, you may not have a particularly high charisma modifier, so you're probably going to be relying on 8 plus your proficiency bonus. But it's really down to how you build the character. Retaliation you get at 14th level. So taking damage up close. So if you take damage up close, okay, you can have a reaction and you get to make an attack. It's a useful feature. One of the things I would like to point out with regard to the Berserker is I feel like the Berserker is very much a combat damage and hit point and chance to hit archetype. It's really around mostly, I feel, increasing damage and increasing your hit chance. That seems to be the main focus for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as a archetype, I actually find this less interesting and less flavoursome and also mechanically interesting. And this is just my opinion, so just take it as my opinion. Next is Path of the Totem Warrior, which I honestly feel is vastly better in terms of flavour and also in terms of just mechanical options. So at 3rd level you get Spirit Seeker. So you can now cast as a ritual Beast Sense and speak with animals. Kind of makes sense. If you're going to be in touch with your animal primeval instincts, then being able to speak with other animals is a good idea. This is, if you're going to go this way, it would be sensible too to pick up something like animal handling as a proficient skill. And Beast Sense also fairly useful considering you're hopefully going to be interacting with other animals and beasts. So also at 3rd level you get the Totem Spirit. So this is where you get to select either the bear, the eagle or the wolf. And you're going to gain some of the physical attributes of that particular beast. So whether it be a bear or an eagle or a wolf. Maybe you start growing hair, maybe you grow feathers, maybe your eyes change. There is some information and descriptions in the player's handbook about what might take place. And each of the different animals grant you a different feature that you can focus on. So the bear and the eagle and the wolf are all very different. This is why I feel like Path of the Totem Warrior is a lot more interesting, simply because of that fact. Next we get at 6th level, we get Aspect of the Beast. So yet again you select an animal. Now you can select a different animal, you don't have to select the bear again or the eagle again or the wolf. So it essentially means that the way it's laid out, you can essentially cover all the animals if you wanted to, or focus on one in particular. I don't honestly think that it's wrong to pick up all 3. Why not? Does it have to be nailed down to one animal? And I don't think that it does. So Aspect of the Beast, and you gain a magical benefit. And as I said, as before, same as before with the Totem Spirit, the bear, the eagle and the wolf give you a different magical benefit. Very, very useful. Next is the Spirit Walker, which you get at 10th level, and you can now cast Commune with Nature as a ritual. Now I know that comes off and seems like, well, why do I need that? But I think you'll find that there's a lot of utility and skill stuff revolving around Totem of the Warrior. That's what my feeling is there's a lot more utility. It's a little less combat focused. There is some utility to the Berserker, but I feel like it's only one. Intimidating Presence, I feel like that's pretty much it. And I would imagine most players are going to try to use Intimidating Presence in the middle of combat, simply because it lists an action to do it. If you want to use it, you can, as an action. Okay, next, final one, at 14th level, you're going to be picking up Totemic Attunement. Totemic Attunement? What a terrible word. It's an awful word, but doesn't matter. So you select another animal again. It can be the bear, it can be the eagle, and it can be the wolf, any one of those, and you gain yet another magical benefit, which is different again. as I said. So my feeling is that the Totem Warrior really focuses on getting in touch with your primal beast nature and gives you quite a nice magical spirit flavor. It's my favorite out of all of the archetypes in the Player's Handbook. I'm not going to be talking about every single beast, every single barbarian archetype. There are others in other books, but that's an awful lot of information. If you want me to talk about that sort of stuff, put that down in the chat right now or in the comments, whatever you want to do, and I will certainly cover that. Now, what I wanted to do is, there isn't an awful lot of choice with regard to the Berserker. You know, you get what you get. You know, at 3rd level you get Frenzy, okay? And then at 6th level you get Mindless Rage. And then at 10th level you get Intimidating Presence, all right? And then Retaliation, you get that at 14th level. But there are some choices to be made which I thought were quite interesting with regard to the path of the Totem Warrior. So I want to actually talk a little bit more about that. So there isn't an awful lot to say about the Spirit Seeker, because essentially you're able to cast Beast Sense and speak with animals. So that's pretty simple. You can cast that as a ritual. That's nice and simple. It's when you get to the Totem Spirit and you get to select an animal that you associate yourself with. And my favorite out of all of them, now there's nothing wrong with the ones that are here, but certainly the one that I thought stood out the most for me for the Totem Spirit is the bear. So while raging, you have resistance to all damage except psychic damage. That is hugely powerful. And I've seen that used at my table. And I was so shocked. It took me a couple of minutes when my player mentioned this to me, and I was like, can I please read that section? He pulled it out. He said, here you go. And he was right. So it's a really good feature to pick up. And that's my personal opinion. Out of all the options there, I personally feel like that is the one I would personally go for. Next, when we get to the aspect of the beast, and I was looking through this, and it's sort of a toss-up. I feel like being able to lift heavy things is all right, but what I like is the eagle one. Aspect of the beast and the eagle option. And the reason being is you gain eyesight of an eagle. Okay, you can see up to 1 mile away with no difficulty. You're able to discern fine details, and additionally, a dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on wisdom checks or perception checks. That's the one that stands out for me. But it's personal preference, you know, what you would like to do, what you would prefer. Okay, so at 10th level we get Spirit Walker, and that's the communion with nature as a ritual. It's pretty simple. We don't need to go into a lot of detail with that one. But Totemic Attunement at 14th. That's the one where you get to pick yet another animal. And the one that stands out the most for me is definitely the eagle and the ability to fly. And I know what you're thinking, yeah, but you can only fly a short distance. Okay, so but get a load of this. While raging, you have a fly speed equal to your current walking speed. So most of the time you're actually going to be able to move probably about 40 feet. If you had a standard speed of 30, it will have increased because of your fast movement. By now you're moving probably at least 40, unless you've got a race that only has a standard 25, rather than a normal race that's sort of, you know, medium size. If you're a small race, you might be 25, but that's either 35 or 40, and that means you can fly that far. That's enough to get you out of trouble, across obstacles and hazards. It's also going to give you the opportunity to get into a tree. Why would you climb the tree or climb up a cliff if you can just fly up and then grab on? Makes perfect sense to me. But the problem is that you can only do it in short bursts. Okay, that's the downside, and that if you have to land once you've used up your speed, otherwise you're going to be falling. That's the only downside, and I don't think it's big enough. Honestly, you're going to be doing it. You're at least going to have 35 feet movement, chances are it's more likely going to be 40. And those are the ones that stand out the most for me. I don't want to say anything more. What I really want to do is have people tell me what their preference is. You know, what was the path that appealed to you? Was it the Totem Warrior or was it the Berserker? I personally feel that the Totem Warrior is a better option for me if I was playing a Barbarian, and it gives you a lot more options, whereas I feel like you're much more fixed if you're taking up something like the Berserker. So if you found this useful or informative, great. Please like the video. If you like this sort of thing, then you can share the video, which is great too, but subscribe. Watching my videos is also part of the deal. You know, if you're watching my videos, you're certainly helping me out. But subscribing and hitting the bell button so you get notified when I am live or when I publish a new video, that's going to be hugely helpful to me and probably to you, because I go live quite a lot, so it is useful to know when I'm going to be going live, and I'm doing my best to make sure I notify people when I'm going to be doing it. So I'm doing it in advance and making sure it's actually coming up and there's a reminder. If you want to support my channel, then watch more of my videos. You've already watched this one, so there are other videos on the Barbarian and all sorts of other classes and roles and stuff for Dungeon Masters and players. I'm sure there'll be something you'll find useful. I don't do Patreon, but down in the description you'll find an affiliate link, and you can buy stuff online. You know the story of those things. You buy stuff online, I get a small commission, you pay exactly the same price, and you don't even have to buy the thing that it's linked to. And that's really going to help me out. I can buy stuff and keep my gear up to speed, keep it updated. Okay, so now while I'm here, if you have any questions, any feedback, if there's something you want me to talk about or discuss in more detail, please start putting it into the chat box right now. If there's something I missed in this video that you want me to cover in the future, please put it down in the chat box right now. Otherwise, if you weren't present for the live stream, then down in the comments, tell me, is there anything you would like me to discuss? Is there any questions you have? Do I need to do another follow-up video? Look, I already know I need to do follow-up videos, and certainly it will happen, I just don't know when. There's a lot of information in the Player's Handbook. If there's any questions, as I said, I will answer those in the comments as well. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.